Welcome back to Glow Up or Get Out. I am half the podcast, Sam.
I'm the other half, Mel.
And we're back. Season 6.
Yup.
There's been a couple changes. We have stands. So yeah, things are new. My hair is like a different color now if you're watching. Red-ish, auburny, whatever you want to call it. But some changes have happened.
I look the exact same, so welcome back.
We're just keeping some things consistent for you guys so you don't feel too scared. Okay. Today's episode, we're talking about therapy. Good old therapy.
Good old therapy.
Wait, do we want to do the how has your day been?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. How has your day been? It's a long pause. It must not have been great.
I don't know. I'm just like running on high anxiety since like last night. So moving through it. Speaking of therapy, it's something I'm working on in therapy is my anxiety. So yeah, but it's been a good day. I feel like I let a lot of things kind of like bottle up in the morning, which then kind of like makes the rest of the day feel like I can't redeem myself sometimes, but working through it.
Always redeemable. You can always have a new day, as we've said many times on this podcast. I love that for you, that
I'm trying.
working through that. Yes, I love that for you.
Guys,
it's
how's
hard.
your day?
Personally, my day has been pretty good.
Like there's been way too many episodes where I'm like, yeah, it's been a bad
day. Worked out, cleaned, did some stuff I needed to get done around the house. Yeah, for the most part, good.
That's good.
You know.
Sounds productive and like
got
your ducks in a row.
Emotionally, it's just, we're working through it.
Yikes.
We're working through it, folks, ladies and gents.
Shit's changed.
So moving on to therapy. This is a great episode, I think, to start off our season, just because, I don't know, therapy is just taboo still, I think. Like, I think we want to say, like, oh my god, yeah, everybody thinks therapy's cool. Like, if you say you're in therapy, it's like a cool thing. Like, hee hee, my therapist told me. It's such a joke on Twitter, like, right?
Yeah.
But I still think not that many people are actually using it as a resource. So yeah, maybe this episode can help you figure out whether you want to get into therapy, what that looks like for you, what we've learned on our own journeys,
and the types of like benefits that we've like seen from like our personal experiences.
Yeah.
Anyway, what is like your first introduction to like therapy? Like, when did you feel, number one, like the need to go, or
like someone suggested it or whatever?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can like put a specific like time, like year even of when it was like introduced to me. Maybe definitely like college. It was more so like people talking about therapy and me personally being like, maybe I should go to therapy. Like that would be like probably good for me. Just like having breakthroughs in college, you know?
Yeah.
Like emotional breakthroughs of things that have happened in the past that I'm like, oh, maybe I should go to therapy for that.
Do you feel like it felt out of reach though then?
I think it just felt like so unrealistic. Not necessarily out of reach, but just like I literally don't even know what that looks like. So it's a cute idea. But like I never made an effort to talk to anyone about it or like Google it or, you know, ask anyone. So it was unrealistic in my eyes.
I guess, yeah, that's what I mean by like out of reach. Like it just was not like in
something,
your like plausible plans.
Exactly, yeah. But then first introduction to like knowing someone in therapy was probably you. Like when you were trying to reach out to our school counselor.
Yeah.
Which was like senior year of college. So like that's pretty insane that it's like the first time I'm like, oh, therapy. People do go to therapy. Yeah. It's not just something we all talk about. What about you?
My family had like a lot of like issues growing up. Not that I had therapists when I was little,
Mm-hmm.
but when my brother went off to college, he was struggling with his mental health. And I remember it being a topic of conversation, like you should probably go see a therapist. And that was very already taboo for like...
How old were you when he went to college?
I was like...
Middle school?
8th grade, yeah. So when he went to college is when I went into freshman year.
Gotcha.
But I was in high school when that happened. So, you know, I was like really well aware that like you can go to your school counselor and talk to them. But as far as a therapist, like I didn't really understand how that worked. I knew it was like a profession, but I really just thought it was like for rich white people and like for, you know, wealthy people problems, or like, I guess like thoughts of like marriage counseling like on TV. That was like my exposure.
Like something drastic had to have happened in your life to need it.
Right.
Basically.
So again, like something drastic happened in my family. So that was like a topic of conversation. But it was never like a conversation about it being like something to do on a day to day or like outside of like a huge issue that you have in your life.
Right.
So yeah. And then like my personal first introduction to therapy was... yeah, like junior to like senior year of college, I was really trying to find a therapist for myself, again, due to a drastic thing that happened to me. So then, yeah, but it was a fucking shit show trying to find a therapist for a while. So that's why I kind of gave into the idea of just going to the one at school, which like they only gave you like 4 free sessions.
And we're graduating, so
yeah,
obviously you can't.
Yeah.
Go after that.
I really did love her though. She was great.
Go Cal State Long Beach. Do you remember her name?
I don't.
Shout out to her, whoever she is.
I don't remember her name. I remember her face, but I can't. Like, I've tried to look for her on like the school website and stuff.
What about like LinkedIn?
Oh, that might be a good way to look for her.
I mean, there's a lot of faculty though, so I don't know.
Because when I was like in a good place, like financially and everything, and I wanted a therapist, I wanted to like see if she had a private practice, but I couldn't find her. But anyway, if you're watching this, girl, you affected my life.
Hit her up. I think we decided not to really talk about, I guess, the barriers, because we wanted it to be a very positive episode, but I feel like it's just so very real. Like we could touch on it. It's just like
natural, yeah.
Yeah, so barriers to getting
big one is
therapy.
Money.
Yeah.
Therapies can be really expensive.
I think that's probably the number one, and that's without people even researching. I think that's why people automatically go, well, I can't afford it. Even though they have no idea where they could find affordable options or resources or whatever. It's just the first jump to be like, well, it's too expensive.
Right.
Which is fair.
Which is very fucking fair because...
it is a luxury.
It's a luxury, especially with specific therapists or specific offices. Another barrier is, I honestly just finding a good one. There's a lot of people out there who are therapists, but maybe just don't align with the way that you like to be spoken to or like,
or
for example, yeah, I think some people really enjoy the venting aspect to a therapist and you kind of just want someone there to support you. But there's other types of like ways that maybe other therapists work where like it's more about giving you constructive criticism or like feedback. Some people don't like feedback. And although I don't think that that's healthy,
you're paying them.
You're paying them. Yeah, it's up to you what you want to do with your therapist, like your therapy session. But I think that's difficult. I feel like also, I think mental health is becoming much more accessible. Like mental health resources are becoming more accessible. But I do think, like, for example, I have had Medi-Cal for a really long time, which is like on the low end of like insurance, which like provides me to go to Kaiser. But with Kaiser, it's so difficult to get a therapist that like will be with you like on a weekly basis.
So not just like finding one that you like, it's like finding one that also is available for
with like, with your insurance or whatever. So like while I was in senior year of college, I was really trying to go through like my insurance and figure that out. It was literally impossible. I met so many shitty programs that like I didn't feel like I was prioritized or just overall like I didn't feel like I was gonna get anything out of it. So that sucks. And I feel like a lot of people go through the same thing where they're trying so hard to like help themselves and it feels helpless because they end up in like situations where they have to be on a really long wait list or just, there was this one time that I literally had to go to like a program where I needed to be in the program talking to an advisor for like 2 months before I was even on the wait list. And it's like, I literally need help right now. Like, what if I was suicidal right now? So yeah, that's a big barrier. It's just like finding a therapist in general.
I mean, I think that pretty much like covers it. Obviously, there's like the daunting experience of it all in general, like just having fears of going to therapy and letting all that shit out or whatever. There's a lot, but I mean, I think like, why did I say I think like that? I think that was hilarious. I think that our point of the podcast episode is just like, there are barriers, but it's worth it. And like, we personally just feel like, don't be scared.
Don't be scared.
Don't be scared. Throw yourself off the fucking deep end, because you're probably already doing that in other ways, in bad ways, negative ones.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I guess like kind of going off the thought that you just said about, oh God, what did you
releasing it, like saying it in front
just
of
like
cameras?
saying it sometimes, like I guess that's another barrier, is like feeling like you have to say your story so many times until you find someone that really connects with you and will like help you move through it.
Yeah,
it's kind of daunting, but once you find it, it's really therapeutic and very eye-opening.
Should we jump into the tips then?
Yeah.
So tips, I guess, going off of that, I would say definitely have questions for prospective therapists. Like, if you're looking at your top 3 or whatever, definitely look at their websites if they have one, or whatever, bios or whatever information you can find about them. Reviews even, which like take those with a grain of salt, but reviews. And then I think every therapist has a consultation call. Pretty sure.
Pretty much.
I mean, a good one. If they don't want a consultation call, don't do it, I don't think.
No, yeah, don't do it. I've had like consultation calls where I literally had to have said my entire story of like why I need therapy. And then they tell me the price at the end, and I'm like, I can't fucking afford you. Why didn't you just start with like your pricing? Because I don't want to tell you my shit if I can't afford you. Anyway, but
it's weird.
It's weird. I think there's a way that you can be consulted, where you can just give them not very specifics, but be like, do you focus on trauma? Do you focus on childhood healing? Do you focus on, like if you're going for marriage counseling, do you focus on that? Whatever it is that you need, I think ask them for that specific, say like niche of therapy, like your kind of like your issues, like do you align with them?
I think my previous therapist did it really well, like, because that was my first therapist, and she called me and basically spewed everything, like, this is what I specialize in, this is the type of client I'm looking for. So like, I'm looking for driven people, I'm looking for people who are going to make change, people who will spend X amount of hours a week on changing themselves, and like, pretty much just laying it all out, like, what do you expect out of your client? So like, if you don't get that from your consultation, I would ask those questions in the future, like I personally don't want a different therapist, but if I were to go to a different one, I would ask questions like, well, do you assign like homework? How do you function as a therapist? Like, what's your role in my life, basically?
Right. And that's like going back to the point of like figuring out your needs for your therapist. Like, what kind of therapist do you want to move forward with?
I guess if it's your first time in therapy, you don't maybe know what you want, but you can base it off like things about you know about yourself, like, I'm a driven person, whatever, like, I just want to get through this patch in my life. Like, telling them whatever you can that kind of tells them like, I don't think we're a good fit or not.
And I think that will come into, you'll see the differences between like maybe my therapy experience more recently versus Sam's therapy experience. Maybe we can like go into not detail, but like give you some insight on like what our therapy sessions are like and what we gain out of them.
And then you can kind of be like, oh, I like that type or this type, or I don't like either. I don't know. Another tip, I think, is, what's the website? It's
psychology. Why did I say psychology today? I don't
know,
think
girly. That's a magazine. Isn't it like mental better mental therapy better?
So if you go on Psychology Today,
I think I have a different one.
There's like a little thing that helps you find a therapist in your zip code and stuff. That really helps. The one that you're talking about is for people, therapists who have a sliding scale, right?
I think so. Well, we can just link them.
We'll link them, but there's a couple websites that you can help yourself look for a therapist out of network, because sometimes, almost always, therapists within like your insurance, whatever your insurance like recommends, is not great. Sorry.
Not always.
Not always, but sorry that's, I feel like that's my personal experience. So I think it's really nice to go out and do your own research and see if like a therapist out of network can still work with your insurance in some form.
Yeah. And like, I guess, tip, sliding scale. So like if number one barrier is financial, definitely ask in the consultation call, like, or email, whatever you want to do, if they offer sliding scale. And that's basically just them charging a lower price. That's basically what it is.
So the reason sliding scale exists is, I think, because therapists allot themselves a couple slots in their offices to give clients, I don't know if I think it benefits them in some way.
I'm sure there's a tax.
I'm sure it's like a tax write-off or something. They give therapy at a much lower rate. So like someone who's probably like, I don't know, $150 a session can move it down to like $60. And that's such a big difference. And although $60 sounds like a lot, you probably eat twice a week. That's like not $60, but that's like, if you add up the money, it makes sense to like maybe put that towards your mental health. You know what? You can also start slow and do like every month, or, you know, something like that.
I guess another tip would be figuring out a plan that does work for you, because it doesn't have to be like everyone else. Once a week, twice a week, some people do. Like, you don't have to make it so intense if you don't even need that. Obviously, a therapist will recommend what they think could work for you and what is best, but definitely just keeping communication open. Like, don't, I guess, hinder your own growth by not speaking up and saying like, I honestly can only afford this much. Like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? They're gonna call you poor.
They're gonna say no. I can't do it for that price. But you know what? Sometimes therapists are really nice and they have a network of their own where they know of other therapists who might be able to give you a session, every week for the price that you're looking for. I think it's very, just like put it out there that you're looking for that. And, you know, if they're like, I can't do it, you can say, hey, well, you know, do you know of any other offices or any other therapists that maybe will do it at that price? And maybe they'll have someone to tell you about. I guess another tip, more speaking towards like not just finding a therapist, but like in therapy, like you just said, like don't hold back on information. Like I think you, number one, are paying for them in one way or another, either if it's through your insurance or you're doing sliding scale or you're paying full price. Use your time wisely. You're literally paying these people to listen to you and help you create a healing plan. So being completely honest with them is super important, and don't hold back. Like that's why you're there, you know?
Yep.
And they're not there to judge you. Hopefully.
I mean, they might be privately in their own thoughts.
Right, but that's like none of your business, you know? They're just trying to help you in their best
At the end of the day, they want what's best for you.
Right.
They're like friends that you don't have a friendship with. You know what I mean?
Looking
out for you, but also
your therapist can be like your bestie, but without like you hanging out with them and texting them all the time.
Yeah, literally.
And give you probably better advice because that's their literal job.
Other tips, I don't know if I have any off the top of my head. Finding therapy. I think just do it. Like, honestly, that I waited so long and it was so easy at the end. Like, okay, I mean, we'll tell you our stories, but like, it's, at the end of the day, it's easy. Like, it didn't hurt me at all to ask people, to email, to look at. It doesn't hurt at all.
Just sit there for a little bit. Make that list of people that you want to reach out to. And just reach out.
Quickly, I guess, our experience currently. So, I'll go first. I was in therapy, I don't even know when I started. Girl, I don't know, sometime last year. The end of last year, like November, October, I don't know, something like that. Oh, October, because that's when I got Louis.
Right.
It was right, like, around that time. So, I started therapy in October, and I think I had my last session either late December or early January. I don't remember. But I really enjoyed my therapist. I really loved every session we had. But unfortunately, money was a problem because she was out of network, and I was under the impression my insurance was going to refund everything, but there was a cap. And I had already reached the cap because I'd been to other doctors through the year, stuff like that. And yeah, so I sadly had to say goodbye. She did have sliding scale, but it was still too much for me. I'd say 1000% she's worth it. Like, I am not trying to say she's terrible for having such a high price, but yeah. I do hope to go back to her for sure. Her style is very, she says holistic, so I'll go with holistic. It's like holistic and very technique focused, and she always like made sure like the session went wherever I wanted it to go. So for a few sessions I would just vent and kind of like ask for advice on what to do about a situation, and she would give me tips on like healing through a process of emotions, or giving me techniques to practice in a moment where I felt like I needed like to react differently. She gave me like very practical things to do too, like not just like mental exercises. She did like a lot of like, she knew I was creative, so she like suggested like an artsy type like project. So she was very much like hands-on-y. She gave me like videos I had to do every day, a book, an audiobook I had to read, journaling. Like, she very much so, you have to be a driven person to work with her because it was a lot.
It was very action oriented.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
100%. And I really enjoyed it. So kind of bummed, but hopefully I can go back this year. We're manifesting that we're going to be just so successful that I will be able to afford my therapy.
Let me be successful just to go to therapy,
literally.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's just short and sweet, you know?
She was great.
Yeah. Love her. Would like to go back.
My therapy experience. I guess like, should I just go off of like my more recent one?
Yeah.
I am really surprised on how I found, number one, my therapist, how great she is, and how like comforting she is. The way that she works with me, or has worked with me, I don't know, when did I start with her?
You started before me.
In like the summer, I think, right?
No? You started like a month before me, so August or September maybe?
Anyway, sometime around August or September. Again, I found her at a network, but thankfully she specifically works with Kaiser people, so it just worked out. It was kind of a shit show to get it all set up, but it got set up and we're fine now. You just kind of have to be pushy with, insurance and all that stuff, and ask all the questions you possibly can so you don't end up in a fuck situation paying for therapy out the butt. Like, it's expensive sometimes. So anyway, that's what I did. And the way that she works with me, the way we started was more off of, she just wanted to understand my issues. And I started therapy again for a specific reason, but I've been wanting to go back to therapy in general. But, the one situation was more important and more up in the forefront of my brain. So like, we really focused on that. And then from there, the way that we kind of like went about it was like going through the characters of my life. That sounds kind of funny, but like my family and like the people around me, and the types of roles that they play and how I play into their lives. And just kind of like through that, we found a lot of schemas, and a lot of, so schemas are kind of just like themes in my life, that then become like issues that I'm dealing with. From there, she slowly, every once in a while, would add in like a more action oriented or like technique to like cope with my anxiety, or, when I'm having, for me, it's like a lot of negative thoughts. So it's like kind of how to rework my brain and my body to work together to kind of let that dissipate and move forward. So that's what's more recently happening. But I did have to go through and like basically vent out my life. And for me, it was super important to be validated, but not necessarily like babied per se, because I really don't like that. I liked the constructive like feedback, and I like it when people tell me, not necessarily that I'm wrong, but that like maybe you could have seen it from a different perspective, or just shit like that, I guess. But she's great. She's LGBTQ friendly. She's also part of the community herself, so I thought that was really important for me. And also she's Latina, so all those things were, they weren't necessities for me, but I think they're added bonuses, because I can talk about certain schemas in my life that, are pertaining to me being Latina or also gay. And then like we can both like work on that together, and I actually feel like I'm talking to someone who understands the issues that I'm going through.
That's a tip.
So yeah, that's another tip. If you have like specific things that are happening to you, I think working on finding a therapist that can relate. And that's more on the same tip of like if you're going to therapy for something about trauma or an anxiety disorder, making sure you have a therapist that specializes or focuses on it at least, or can focus on it.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. That my therapist is trauma healing. That was her main thing. Anxiety and trauma healing is her specialty. That's yep.
That's our experience.
Kind of funny too, because at the beginning when I saw she was holistic, I was like, like I'm not a closed-minded person, but I'm also like a very logical person.
What did you think she was gonna like bring out the sound bath?
Yeah, or something. Like I thought it was gonna be just like super.
I think the reason she maybe says that is because of like,
I mean, she is.
That Qigong and like.
No, she totally is. Yeah, it's just when you don't know, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, she would have me do Qigong videos. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's actually really helpful. It's all about like energy and flow. Yeah, centering yourself. It's like meditating, basically. Yeah, benefits wise or things that I've learned specifically, I think in general therapy is very validating. Like you said, it's very much like someone telling you like either this experience for you did feel that way and that's okay, while in your case maybe they'll be like, but look at it this way or whatever, but still validating. Like you still get to feel those feelings and like be okay with them. Like it's not the end of the world that you upset someone or whatever. Another huge thing is boundaries. I learned a lot about setting boundaries, where that comes from, like as a child, things that happen to you or whatever. So you learn things from your childhood that you carry into your whole little life and that you don't acknowledge because you don't know how to. I think I've just also, I don't know. I feel like it's very empowering to know that like you want to work on yourself in general.
Yeah.
Like it's very much like I'm setting aside this time for me. And like whether you also do homework on top of that or just set aside time yourself to do self-care or whatever the case is, it's very like empowering to be like, yep, I'm doing this for me, and someone else is telling me, who is licensed and a professional, that like, yes, you need to do those things to feel better and be happy. So it's just like a lot of my homework was relax. Like
take baths,
spend a day and do nothing. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? But like having someone tell me like, no, I promise you, you need this. It was like, okay, like my therapist said I need it, so I'm going to take it.
Like, you can hear from other people, but when a professional is telling you like,
it's going to make you feel better.
Are you doing this? It's good for you.
Yeah.
It's like a wake up call. You're like, fuck, okay. It's like your doctor telling you like,
work out more,
or like you should probably watch your cholesterol or something. Like it's literally the same thing.
Yeah.
They're trying to like heal your brain.
Right when I left, we started doing inner child healing and it was so cool. I'm telling you guys. It's really cool. You guys should ask for it if you've been in therapy for a while. It's very interesting.
There's also like different types of therapy, like that's part of it. And then there's like EMDR, which like kind of like a hypnosis state of type of therapy
to bring back like
memories and things like that. But a lot of people feel like it's very healing to recall things so that they can move past them, because a big part of like why I think therapy is so important is that our brains are consistently trying to protect us, and in that process it makes us forget a lot of things, but we hold on to the emotion for some reason. And so you're living your life with like this emotion that you can't almost like fathom, like, why is it happening to me? And you're living your life like that every single day, and it won't get fixed unless you can like get to the root of things. And I think that's one of the biggest benefits, is like figuring out exactly why something has created a trigger or created a trauma response, or why you even like are anxious about this thought.
It's very validating too. Like to know that you didn't just come up with something out of thin air, like a response. I think my biggest takeaways in general are the techniques I've learned. Like it changed my life forever, the things that I learned. So I feel like it's just crazy to me that there's people who can get therapy. Like it's never easy, but there's people out there in the world that could just get one, like rich people or whatever, you know, and they don't. I'm like, you'd probably be
It's like
richer.
so accessible to you.
Like,
yeah.
what are you doing? So yeah, I like literally, I think everyone needs it. Everyone can benefit from it, whether it's just to vent, and instead of venting to your friends because you're crossing their boundaries, at least you're venting to someone else. Or if it's to actually fix some trauma, like there's so many benefits.
There's so many benefits to
They
it.
outweigh the cons.
I feel like there's literally no cons. I mean, you
Well,
know, on
cons of
I mean, like
the barriers.
The barriers and stuff. Also, a con might be that you have, after therapy, I sometimes feel literally incapable of doing anything, which sounds like counterintuitive, but it's like, I think it's just your mind and body processing.
Mm-hmm. You're just exhausted emotionally.
You're exhausted, yeah. It takes a lot out of you to bring something out from like literally deep-rooted things, and then, you know, go over it with your therapist and whatnot.
Maybe another tip is to think about when you have therapy in terms of that.
Absolutely. Schedule that correctly.
Yeah, don't do it on like a Wednesday at noon. I mean, mine was
Tuesdays
if that works,
at 10 a.m. If that works for you, though, yeah. For me, the benefits, big one was validation, because I think I have played a very supporting role. A lot of the people in my life, I've been a supportive role for them. And I think as that has happened, I have needed a validation through my experiences, and I think I get that through therapy. And it's only almost helpful through my therapist, because then it like, I have someone to move me forward with like an action plan, and not just be like, oh, I'm really sorry that happened to you, you know?
Yeah.
I think my communication has become a lot stronger, which is something that that's been one of my issues, and I'm really working on. And I think it's also helped me model the fact that like I am really working on myself, and show it to like my friends and family who have issues and like need to probably go to therapy and help themselves to do the same for themselves, or like even just have a thought about it, like maybe I should go. Further that thought, I feel like with working on myself, I have better responses, like action oriented, or even just like a response to something that would probably like piss me off or make me anxious or frustrated. I feel like I'm a little bit better at reacting now, and also setting boundaries. And I think that has changed my entire life. I feel like I have now a different relationship with every single person in my life. That's no longer, I mean, you know, I'm a fucking work in progress, but like it's made a big difference. I've also just like learned to not accept certain things anymore. And that's like the boundary aspect of it. But definitely feel like anyone can benefit from it. Just the simplest things that you probably know are good for you, hearing it from someone else at least is like really life-changing.
And I know, like, for me too, I'm like very private, so I feel like it was a scary thought, like telling someone everything and like actually being honest about thoughts. It's like, those are for me though.
Yeah.
But it's like, if I don't tell you, then it's not really helping me either. So
what am I here for?
Yeah. Exactly. But it's not that scary, I promise.
And that's like the cool thing is like you could be a private person and you're like paying this person to literally tell you that it's okay, or like that thought is probably not productive, but I'm glad you told me and we can move through it. If you keep that shit in, dude,
you just overthink.
Yeah.
And overthinking literally probably takes seconds off your life at least.
Yeah. Well, if you're like any of us, any of me and Sam and Logan, and I don't know, that's like the only people I know that are in therapy. If you have like a large issue in your life that's really bothering you, I recommend you go to therapy.
Yeah.
And we say that in the most sincere way, not in like an offensive way at all. I think that's like the taboo thing about therapy. It's seen as like, well, there's something wrong with you. And I think it's literally the opposite of like, no, I think that I just want to get better and I don't want this to affect the rest of my life.
Exactly.
So,
unless if you like need advice on getting a therapist, or I don't know, whatever barriers you're facing, maybe we have resources or know someone who has resources. If we're your first, step towards therapy, would gladly be it. So don't be afraid to reach out. We're here. Okay. But speaking of everyone else, Glowing Hour is going to be all about polls that we did on Instagram and what you guys said.
Let's fucking hear it.
We're back. And we are drinking today the Victory Sour Monkey Sour Triple. I don't
know what that means.
I don't know. But she's 9%, so
Good.
I've had it before. So you like it?
Yeah, I like it.
All right. Katie introduced these, my friend Katie. Shout out. She introduced me to these on my birthday last year, so we have them. Anyways, therapy.
Drinking right now is so counterintuitive to this episode.
I know. I'm like, our therapist would be so proud. Literally, don't tell our therapist, which, I mean, I'm not in therapy right now anyway, so I'm like, I drink.
I don't think my therapist has ever seen this podcast. Probably should, though, if she really wanted to know more.
It's like, look, I get paid for an hour. Your episodes are an hour, bitch.
Facts. Yeah, she won't watch it. She knows about it, though, so there's that.
She's like, if I really wanted, I'll look, but
I'm good on that one.
Cute. Okay, so first question we asked was, are you in therapy? And what did the people say?
It was a 50-50. So, half were not in therapy and half are.
Yeah.
To that response, we had asked, if you said no, are you looking to start therapy? And everyone who wasn't said yes. Out of you guys.
That's nice.
It's very important for you, especially if you think that you should be working on anything.
I'm curious to know, like, if anyone would say no, if it would be like, just because, I mean, obviously the restraints, so like you're not looking because you're just like, I can't, or if it would be like,
I don't need it.
Right. Well, I guess that's part of the next question, right? I think I'm skipping ahead.
Yes.
What's stopping you from being in therapy? So these are people who answered.
So nobody actually answered don't need it. So that's cool.
Nice. Majority said too many barriers, so it seems difficult to find a therapist. And then all of the other people responded to either just finish going for a while or I can't afford it. Okay, we can work with that. So yeah, like I was saying, they just finished and like feel like they kind of like made some big breakthroughs. Because I do feel like, I remember at the beginning, my therapist told me, like I work with my clients and by whatever time period, like these are my statistics basically, like by a year they don't need me anymore, or like whatever she said. I'm not sure that was exactly it, but basically like by a year we cut sessions down minimum. So like eventually I'm sure she'll feel like confident enough that like you don't need to pay me for everyday life, like you don't really have anything crazy going on. And it's more like, and obviously when something comes up that's triggering or a big
always,
life change,
ask for a session.
Yeah,
that's definitely like always the goal, is to
not
go to therapy so consistently that like you are able, it's not even that you don't need it, but you are more equipped to handle day-to-day situations on your own.
Yeah.
And you have tools and your own resources to give yourself the boost and give yourself the comfortable feelings of like, I'm going to be okay without the need of someone else. Yeah. And then obviously if like, you're grieving or you just lost a job or something else comes up that's like more traumatizing or more impactful towards your life, I think that's when, you can step in for a session.
Isn't that crazy? What a beautiful career to have. You just give people the tools to like thrive.
Yeah, to thrive. So to you who just finished going for a while, proud of you. Hopefully you're in a place where you feel like you can handle things on your own. That must be a really good feeling.
Yeah,
looking forward to that moment. Too many barriers. Most people answered that one. Again, we spoke about that earlier, and I feel like there are a lot of barriers a lot of the time. Money's a big factor, which like that was another answer. You can't afford it. Mm-hmm. There's so many different ways to go about it, and at the end of the day it does cost some money. My biggest tip is like to try to budget that out for yourself, because
investing in your whole life,
you're investing in yourself beyond like just like working out or something like that. It's literally so helpful. I mean that's really helpful as well, and that's therapeutic in its own sense. But I think learning how to best handle your stresses and your issues in your life is so important. And it could cost you literally $30, which you might spend at fucking Chipotle, on one day.
Or on the toxic person in your life that you need to go to therapy for.
Yeah. That part.
You're welcome. If that was your sign, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Anyways, yeah, what was the other one? It's, oh wait, no, not the question. The can't afford it. Okay, yeah, that's just too many barriers, I guess, was like also maybe like everything else that we mentioned.
Like finding one and all that. We'll leave some resources. So like, you
Yeah.
know, if you feel like some of the things we've said helped a little bit to like maybe reach out, I'm glad we you know, you can have that time now. I think honestly the biggest thing is just like making the most of your time with like reaching out to your insurance, reaching out to, you know, looking up therapists on the websites that we provide, seeing, you know, contacting them, seeing if they can work with you for either a cheaper price or maybe your insurance just covers it all, you know.
Yeah, I definitely think if nothing comes from this episode for people, like at the very least, you are exposed to the idea of therapy in a very like conversational way where it's not just like, oh yeah, go to therapy, hee hee.
Like it's,
and like it's it.
Yeah.
It's just like giving you the facts, like giving our experiences. I guess it's not necessarily facts, but our experiences,
Our true experiences of like how it affected us.
Like if you're in college and you were like me and you didn't really like know anyone who went to therapy. Hi, I went to therapy.
If you're in college, make
Oh my
use
gosh,
of your
yes.
of your tuition.
You paid for that.
I only had 4 sessions available to me.
How dumb. 4
It's really
sessions for
dumb.
free, but it's in your tuition.
But I would take advantage of those 4 sessions and then, you know, maybe have them refer you to an office or something.
Or their private practice.
Just making use of like those resources is so important. I'm sure they also have like group sessions that you can probably go to. I know that the individual therapy sessions, I only had 4, but I think that group sessions were a whole other beast. So you could probably do some more.
That's kind of cool. Anyways, next question. What's the biggest thing you've seen change in your life since starting therapy?
So here are some of the responses. One person said, helped move through my past traumas, which that is, I think, one of the biggest things that people can utilize therapy for. Someone else said, healthy boundaries that I thought would never be possible.
Oh,
So I guess like setting those boundaries.
that's a good one.
I don't know how much I can tell you that like setting boundaries is so fucking helpful.
And it's hard.
It's difficult.
Especially
it's really
setting
difficult.
them with someone that doesn't get boundaries placed upon them, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like you get a lot of resistance, but you know what's best for you, and your therapist shortly knows what's best for you. So
yeah. Less strain on relationships because I can talk to my therapist about the heavy shit. Yes. So you're not being
like you're not just dumping.
You're not trauma dumping. You're not just like dumping all of your feelings, emotional dumping on people. This person's like meant to sit there and listen to you and give you feedback as far as like, you know,
it's helpful.
It's great to vent to your friends. Obviously that's like in your nature, especially as like a feminine person. Like you probably have your girlies that you want to talk to, but
it's like deep issues, you know, you can't.
It's also
your
like,
girlies don't know how to fix that.
It's to an extent, you know, like you can't tell them everything. I mean, you can tell them everything, but they're not going to be able to give you a healing plan.
Yeah, and it's so different. Like that's someone you see every whatever. You talk to them every day or at least once a week. I mean, I guess that could be your therapist too. But like if you talk to your friends, like it's like in a friendly way. Like you don't talk about just the hard shit.
Yeah.
Which like in therapy you can obviously talk about good things, of course, but like they're focused on your healing. Friends are focused on you just being happy and you guys having a good time, seeing new shit, like doing new things. Like there's so much more of a dynamic in a friendship that you can't just expect them to like be okay with you dumping shit on them every time you see them. I think also
like with the boundary thing or like expectations, like you shouldn't expect your friends to fix you. So like you can tell them all of the problems that you're having, but the response is never going to be something. Not that it never will be, but I don't think it'll be something that your therapist can, you know, would probably give you.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be something empathetic towards your situation, but it's not going to be like healing
oriented. It's a little
oriented.
biased. Friends are biased.
Although that point, yeah.
Because like as a therapist, you've never met the people they're talking about.
Yeah.
Just saying. Anyways.
Oh, yeah.
What's next?
This last one says self-worth has increased and my anxiety has been more controlled.
Okay, nice. Anxiety is a huge one. I feel like everyone has some sort of
anxiety situation.
Anxiety and like
honestly, No, not everyone does.
Not everyone has anxiety?
No. Isn't that a crazy ass concept?
It's upsetting.
Whoever does have anxiety, if you ever sit there and think about like, oh, there's people who actually don't ever get anxious.
That's weird.
It's the weirdest thought you can ever think about. But
Okay.
there's people who don't have anxiety or like disorders. I think there's people who just like get nervous.
Well, that was today's episode. Hopefully you guys were inspired to start therapy, or maybe on National Therapist Day, whenever the Frigidaire that is, you can send your therapist a thank you card or something. That'd be nice.
Oh, I want to do that.
Yeah, I just thought of that. That's a cute idea.
I almost sent my therapist our Christmas card.
Do you
I
have
was
her
like, is that
address?
weird?
Like, I guess her work address?
I thought that was weird in general. I was like, maybe I shouldn't do that. I thought it'd be a cute idea, and then I was like, would you think
Like,
that's
too
weird?
far? Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway.
Anyone know therapy etiquette on that? Whole another episode on therapy etiquette.
I'm like, I don't know the ins and outs of like professionalism in the therapy like space.
I don't know.
Anywho,
You should be in therapy. That's all we're trying to say. It's fun, fresh, and fabulous.
it's a good time in some form.
I mean,
We're just trying to say it's like it's not the funnest thing in the world. Funnest isn't even a word, is it?
the most fun
It's
thing.
not the most fun thing in the world, but it's
worth it.
worth it.
It's like working out. It's not the most fun thing in the world for a lot of people, but is it worth it? Yes.
Also, like, nobody when they first start loves working out. You know what I mean? Like, you have to get there to like, oh, this is actually helping my mental health.
There's some weirdos, but yeah. There's some people probably who do it once and they're like, I'm addicted. I want to be huge.
Go to therapy. I hope you enjoyed if you're watching, our broski vibes. I feel like we're very broed out right now.
Dude with the beer?
Yeah. I'm like, welcome to this bro sesh.
Bro, this is a fraternity GGC.
Okay, we're taking over, what's that stupid ass podcast?
Oh, don't even give him a shout out. We'll
Don't
bleep
watch
him.
it. Yeah, just bleep it. You know who I'm talking about, though. I don't even have to say it.
Yeah. Get on TikTok if you don't.
Anywho, we enjoyed
We enjoyed your company.
We enjoyed your company, but really we did. And we hope that this was kind of like not a wake-up call, but like I hope you're excited to go to
Maybe
therapy.
it's a sign. Yeah.
We have nothing but positive things to say about therapy. You know, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And with that said, we hope that you are in your best life moment and you're healing and excited about the next parts of your life because it's beautiful. Yeah. Welcome back to
Glow or Get
Glow or Get Out. This is season 6, so give us feedback. Let us know what you want to watch or listen to. Yeah, hit us up on all of our
Platforms.
Instagram,
YouTube. That's pretty much all we have on Glow or Get Out. Website?
Correct. Yeah. Website? No.
No.
Just go on our Instagram. That's where we're most active.
Yes, hit us up and leave a review, comment, do something cute, share us. We can't wait to get into season 6. We got some great topics planned, so we'll see y'all then.
See ya.